of Spiceworks Live, the 6.2 launch episode. Welcome back to Spiceworks Live, everyone. My name is Elise. I'm in marketing here at Spiceworks. And this is the launch episode for Spiceworks 6.2, which is the latest product release here at Spiceworks. And we do these Spiceworks Live broadcasts during our beta release cycles so that we can bring you all kinds of behind-the-scenes action from dev and testing and support teams here at Spiceworks and kind of get into the nitty-gritty behind the product releases, all the cool features and all the stuff that goes on here at Spiceworks HQ. So today we're going to be celebrating the release of 6.2 because it's out and it's ready for production, and it's a very cool release. It's got some really good stuff in it, which is a very technical way of saying you're going to want to update to check that out. So today what we're going to be doing is we are going to be talking to two of our own Spice workers from dev and testing. We've got Amin and Brandon here, and they're going to be talking about the release from their standpoints, how it went down on their teams and what they worked on. And Caroline is going to be talking to them. She's in marketing with me. And after that, we've got a special guest joining us via Skype from Minneapolis. Bernard, who was our beta MVP, is going to be talking to us a little bit about his sort of take on testing and talking to us a little bit about the release from a Spice Head's point of view. And after that, we're going to do our standard live Q&A, so get your questions in starting now into the live chat window below the player window. And we will be picking those questions up and getting them answered live. And if you hear your question answered, we'll be sending you a very cool pair of Spiceworks sunglasses. I'm being directed to show you them more closely, like so. Logo, very sweet, hard to come by. So, with that, off to Caroline and the two guys. Hello.
Hello, thanks Elise. Hey guys, it's Caroline here from marketing. First off, I'd like to say happy National Signing Day and go Vols. Oh yeah, I just did that. So I've got Brandon and Amin here with me. So you guys why don't you introduce yourselves, tell us a little bit about yourselves and what you did in this dev process.
I'm Brandon. I'm on the test team, as you know. I am responsible for testing on the app along with the rest of my team members and handling the releases.
Very cool.
Okay. I'm Amin. I'm a Spiceworks developer, and I've been working here for a few months now. And a lot of what I've been involved in is a lot of the grouping functionality and grouping logic on the dev side.
Awesome. Well, tell us what was different about this release than any previous releases you've been involved with?
Besides a re-release?
We'll get there.
For me, it's not a whole lot different. It's the same process that we normally go through. There's a few differences in terms of the beta testers that we had on board and the scheduling and how we did certain things, but the content in there differed a little bit as well.
Okay.
Okay. For me, this was actually my first release here at Spiceworks. So.
New.
But it was a really fun experience. I enjoyed it. Hopefully get to do a lot more.
Yeah. Well, this was actually a little bit of a crazier release than we typically have. You touched on it a little bit, the re-release. We put the 6.2 version up on the download page for about 48 hours, I think it was. Realized that there was something not quite right with it and pulled it back down for about a week. You guys want to expand on that and tell us, what was the process? How did we decide to pull it down? What happened? And then how did we get it back up?
Sure. So just to be clear, there weren't any bugs. I didn't know there was a problem with this. Those were beta tester Easter eggs.
Oh wow! Okay,
yeah.
Never heard that term before.
Thank you, beta testers. You got them. All right, good job. Now we push the live version out.
Very cool.
This was, in all seriousness on it. We did put it out there. We had 6.2 that got launched. We had it out there for 48 hours. We had about a dozen or so people that had different variants of errors that they were running into or performance problems that they were running into. And so we spent a lot of time combing through logs, working with the users. Big thanks to our support team and working with those users. And we just kept chugging through everything until we were able to narrow it down, put out a couple of fixes, and then re-released just last week.
Okay. And now the bug had something to do with the custom grouping, right?
There was a couple different ones. One of them had to do with some agent logic that was in there that we've known about, that there's potential for this to happen, but support was actually doing some workarounds with different users. And when we rolled out a new feature in this build, it actually set a parameter that was causing a little bit of problem for some users. The bug is probably, Amin's probably better to talk about that one.
Okay. And that one was basically a part of the new grouping logic that I was working on. And a lot of that was being able to dynamically add and remove devices from groups.
Which is very cool.
Yeah.
By the way, it's a really neat feature.
So it added quite a bit of functionality, but then with a certain combination of hardware, it led to some performance issues where we were tagging and saving a lot of things to the database right after each other. And there's a lot of concurrent calls that were really slowing down the system.
That's great. We caught it. We fixed it. We got it back up there. We haven't seen any problems so far with the latest version we put up, which is awesome. Now, go back to this beta process was a little bit different in terms of what we allowed beta testers to do when they were moving between the versions.
Right. Yeah, this one, we did have this set up a little different than what we did in 6.0 for the beta process. Some of the things that we saw during the 6.0 beta process were users were installing some of the beta versions into their production environments, and we technically don't like to support that because we are in beta mode, we are testing out some new features that may not make it in. And prime example of this was actually when we were doing the group scanning logic here in 6.2, we didn't actually put that into the release. So that's why, again, why we don't like beta testers to actually put that in a production environment. Yeah. So we had the beta test process was different on this because of it. We had locked down the build a little bit, trying to prevent users from putting it in production. It did make the upgrade process a little bit different, and it probably kept our numbers a little low. Not to mention, the holiday season kept some of our beta testers low.
Yeah. Yeah, well, I think we learned a lot from this release, and we can apply it to the next one and kind of find that balance probably between getting beta testers and semi-production environments, that type of thing.
Right. I mean, there's some things that we can do on our end in terms of how much we're going to support upgrading for users that do even inadvertently install in their production environment. But I think we learned that releasing at the end of the year, starting the beta process is really tough. And we just want to get as many people on the betas as possible so we can head off some of these issues like the performance one.
Great. Well, last question. What's your favorite part of the development process?
Want to take that one?
Sure.
First?
Yeah, I'll go first. So again, for me, this was my first release, but a lot of the work that I was doing, I really got to decide how it works and which direction it goes in. So a lot of the flexibility of kind of making it my own and designing it the way I liked, and I really liked the way grouping turned out, so it worked out nicely.
It's really neat. What about you?
Me?
Yeah.
I just love the whole thing. So handling releases, testing, working with all the developers, it's the same as it's always been for me. That's why I stick here and stick with my role.
Hey, that works.
Yeah.
That's great. Great, we really appreciate it. You're going to stick around because we're going to do the questions from the people watching. But for now, I'm going to pass it back to Elise, and she's going to talk to Bernard.
Excellent. Thanks, guys. All right, so we are now going to talk to Bernard W. Many of you guys have seen him in the community. He's super active during betas. And this is actually the second time around that he's been named beta MVP. So we've asked him to join us via Skype. So I think you guys have him all queued up. Can you see me? Hello. How are you?
Hello. Doing good. Seeing all the nice snow falling outside here.
Oh, that's nice. It's about 80 degrees here. I'm kind of jealous. Thank you for tuning in. I know you were super busy, and I really appreciate you sort of joining us to talk about 6.2 a little bit. And we've been talking to our internal guys here a little bit, I'm sure you've heard. And I'm curious to know from your standpoint, especially since you've been involved in a lot of the other betas, how did this particular beta compare from a testing standpoint, from a user standpoint for you?
One thing I found with this beta is that it felt sort of like a slower beta initially. There wasn't as many people involved testing the beta out, especially in the early builds. I'm not sure why that happened. I don't think it is the locking down of the upgrade process. I'm actually glad for that. The last beta that I really was involved in, the 6.0 beta, I saw a number of users that actually lost their whole database, which is why I'm glad for the lockdown that was put in place for
really
that.
Good feedback. That's really.
Yeah, and then, I just love playing with the betas and seeing how things go. And trying to break things, so I can send it over to the development team and say, here's a little thing I found for you.
And I mean, well, first of all, I should have started by saying congratulations. But I know that that's something that we really appreciate from this end is Spice heads who chime in and are really active and do break things, because that is the whole purpose of the beta process. We really appreciate everyone that does that, and especially for us being able to thank you and other Spice heads who go out of their way to help us test these things. This makes the product better for everyone, so it really helps overall, and we really do appreciate it. So it's always good. But is there one standout feature for you, something that you're excited about putting into production from this release? Excited about using?
There's sort of two features that I really like the ideas of. The help desk tech, I think, is going to be really nice. There's always those people in other departments that have to answer on help desk tickets, and it'll be nice to be able to give them access into the system, but not access into the whole system. And then after the whole re-release, I'm really glad for the extra feature of saying how often the agents will check in. I was one of the people that had some major issues with the initial release, even though I had beta tested it, but the agents are more difficult to test. So as it came into production, it nailed me a little bit, and was glad to find some workarounds for the support people with that.
So that actually is a good segue to my next question, because I'm curious if you could share what it is about beta testing that helps as a Spiceworks user when you go to update to the latest version.
It gives you a little bit more overview of what's actually coming up. I know tonight I've got a SpiceCore meeting, and at that SpiceCore meeting I'll talk a little bit about some of the things that I saw in the beta, namely the group scanning. I want to really ping that one to say this is a neat thing coming up. And then the whole beta process is just so much fun, being able to influence people, influence Spiceworks, saying, okay, if you tweak this feature a little bit to do it this slightly different way, it'll be a whole lot more useful. And that's really the thing that's kept me coming back to the betas each time. Right from 5.7 when I started, it was, or 4.7 I guess, I was able to make a suggestion there that was actually implemented, and it's like, oh, my suggestions actually come into play and are really seen and used to make the product better.
That is true. We are listening. Dev and testing can attest, and support too. I know everyone's really, really active. Everybody is paying a lot of attention to what happens in those groups, and taking feedback that we get seriously to put into the product and keep making it work for the people that are using it every day. So again, thank you so much for testing it. Thanks for tuning in today, and for more than tuning in, for Skyping in. We really appreciate it, and very excited to see you again at Spice World this year. And I also want to add that we had a couple of people that were really active in testing, and the other user that was helping us a lot, the other Spice head that was helping us, was Tank203. And dev and testing and support, when I was talking to them about who we should recognize for their help during this beta test process, they mentioned both of your names, and we decided that you had for sure earned the beta MVP spot, but we did want to recognize Tank203. And I did want to say that what was great about it was that because Bernard is already coming to Spice World, since he won a Spicy last year, he gets a free pass this year. And he was kind enough to say, hey, you know what, I'll just give Tank203 my ticket so he can come to Spice World too, and we can all sort of celebrate him in person when he's here in Austin. So great job to everyone. Thanks, Bernard, for giving your ticket away and contributing that as well to the beta testing process. And thanks to everyone else who tested. It was great, and we need your help always. I know there's a lot of beta releases, maybe more than typical at other software companies, but this is why we do what we do, and we really appreciate all your help. So beta test next time, because we will be asking you to do it. So on that note, we are going to go ahead and move to a Q&A. So get your questions in. Don't forget that we'll be giving away sunglasses, so don't be shy. Ask whatever you want about the release cycle, how they work here in dev and testing, what's different, what you've always been curious about that you'd want to ask someone that works here if you could. And we're going to keep Bernard on the line as well. So if you have a question for a fellow Spice Head about what it's like to test the product, fire away. And he will be happy to answer, I am sure. So off to Caroline and the guys.
Great. Thanks, Elise. So we've got a bunch of questions rolling in. Again, as Elise mentioned, this is your time to ask the behind the scenes, what happens here in the dev cycle. I know you guys are dying to explain. But we'll also do some of your product questions. We have our live webinar tomorrow at 10 a.m. Central as well, where we're going to be going through all the features and talking through them one by one. So you can really get your questions answered there that are very product specific. But dive right in. Let me see. We've got a lot on remote collectors and agents. So
okay.
I'm going to start there for you guys. Let's see. The first one. Someone's wondering if they will have the ability to manage multiple Spiceworks onto one main Spiceworks.
Not sure specifically where they're going with the question, but I'll take a stab at it. We're kind of, if they're talking about moving in the direction where the central server has the ability to do configurations on all the remote collectors, we've been moving in that direction. We started moving in that direction with some of the group scanning logic that we were doing back in 6.2 in the beta cycles, and we'll continue down that path when 6.3 starts the beta cycle as well.
Great.
But it'll be an ongoing process.
Okay. And I also forgot, that was Wilson 843. Still remembering to call out names. On that same note, Mauser Cat is asking about remote collectors are not showing updated 6.2 version. Are we going to be fixing this in an updated release?
Yep, we have that that bug in there.
Yeah.
Is this one on you?
Yeah. So that's
You're
a bug
the man
that I'm
to talk
working
to.
on. Yeah.
Great.
And that's going to be coming out in an updated version before 6.3.
Okay, perfect. Sounds good. Okay, also looking, is there any talk, this is Jamie Hester asking, is there any talk on having agents talk to remote sites instead of a central server?
So yes, we actually put that into 6.2. So there's a lot of work that Amin did with, if you want to talk about that a little bit.
So I didn't do too much work on the remote agent part, but yeah, we did add that to 6.2, allowing people to kind of hook up remote agents to remote sites to kind of communicate that way instead of communicating directly to the central server.
Oh, that's great. And that was one of those features that I saw in the release notes and was like, oh,
Yeah, it didn't get a lot of
It wasn't in
press.
my long list.
Yeah, that one didn't get a lot of press, but
Yeah.
there's some things that'll come down the road on that too. Right now, you can point a agent to a remote site, but your authorization code that you'll use is going to be controlled in the central server, so it's still a global auth code for anybody out there. And same thing with some of the other settings like the connectivity intervals.
Okay. Now, during the beta process, how are you guys going about testing agents and remote collectors? That's got to be pretty hard.
Testing it is challenging. There's some users that we've talked to that have a few thousand agents on their network, so trying to mock up that type of environment is not something that we necessarily have the capabilities to do all the time for each specific environment. So that's where the beta testing does come into play. But like Bernard said, that being able to test all those agents in production is really difficult as well, because you generally don't want to roll all your production agents up to the beta version. So we do, we test as many as we can, and we have different methods of testing, but yeah, that does make it really challenging.
Okay. Now, question from Alan Ridout. Now that we have Portal SSO, which is very exciting, by the way, I know that's been asked for a very long time, will there be admin SSO to get into the help desk?
I have not actually worked on that before, so Brandon?
This is Babbitt's prep project here that he was working on.
Yeah, another one that kind of came in at the end. Yeah.
Babbitt slipped that one, the SSO, in at the last minute. I'm not exactly sure what he's got planned to give you an answer to that question right now.
Okay. Now, the Dainty is asking, are there plans to add canned responses to the help desk system?
Heard anything about that?
I have not.
I know there's a plugin for this in the
Yeah.
Extension Center.
I really, I don't know the answer to that one either on the future of where Babbitt wants to go with some of the help desk features. There's a lot of new stuff coming out for 6.3. I'm just not sure if that one, that stuff made the list.
Now, talking about what's making the list, how do you guys decide what goes into each version?
So I can't really give a definitive answer on this, but I feel that at least it's a combination of things that we feel the users really want, but at the same time, features that we feel we can get done within a reasonable time frame. So kind of trying to balance what we want to give the users and what we can give the users, and still sticking to that reasonable time frame as much as we can.
Yeah. And talking about time frame, we had in 6.2 some inventory features that in the end we decided needed to come out because of time frame, correct?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was, you'll see that coming up again in 6.3. We just, we thought that we could get it done in 6.2, and schedules and priorities changed a little bit, and the complexity of the project had evolved over time. So pulled it out, take the safe road, we'll put it in 6.3.
Hey, that works. So we've got a question from the Smorg. What is the pet project feature that you would have liked to get into 6.2 or into the next release? I like this one.
So actually, there's a project that I'm currently working on with one other person, Matt Kamer, and we're working on adding calendar functionality to Spiceworks. So it's a little project that we're working on the side, and hopefully if we get it done, I'm not sure if it'll be making it into 6.3, but hopefully down the line we can see it into Spiceworks.
What about you?
I'm not sure I get pet projects, but since I'm on the testing front, but since we're doing the Spiceworks right now, I'm working on I guess I'll call it a health check page, and at a very high level, I'm trying to demo out some of the key features that people are concerned about, or key information that people are concerned about, all rolled up into one simple page.
Okay. Now, we've also kind of along those lines, Martin Hazel is asking if you can give us any sneak previews for the next release. So we've talked about the inventory stuff, but what else do you want to add?
So there are a few other things that I'm working on. I'm not sure if they're going to be making it into 6.3, so I don't know how useful it would be, but I know I'm working on redesigning the reporting section to kind of better match the way our grouping works currently. So a lot of these are back-end changes, but hopefully it should speed it up a little bit and allow more flexibility when designing reports.
Nice.
Sneak preview, huh?
If there's anything you get in there, yeah.
I don't know. We'll find out if I get in trouble for saying too much.
Oh no.
Well, so group scanning is supposed to come back in, which we've talked about during 6.2 and 6.3. So that should be making its way back in. Obviously there's no guarantees on any of this, but we're trying to do some stuff with mobile device support. We're trying to do the group scanning. With the group scanning, we're trying to do a new workflow to make it easier for users to scan their networks. And then there's a whole slew of other things that we'll try and get into the release as well.
Okay.
So it should be a pretty big release coming up, hopefully this summer.
Yeah, very exciting. Now, actually, I'm going to take this question then over to Bernard and ask if you had anything that you could add, or pet project you could ask Dev, what would that be?
I think right now the group scanning is the big one that I've seen that I would like to get into. As it is, I've got around 150 computers around my network, but they're over 19 different sites, so it gets to be a little bit confusing after a while, and the scans get a little bit long. So I'm looking forward to being able to cut those scans down a little bit through the group scanning feature.
We're still working on that one. So hopefully we'll have that to you soon. Fantastic. Now, Born Jared is asking, is 6.2 going to be able to read product keys for Windows 7 and 8?
Should be able to. Windows 8, we're still coming up to speed since it was released not too long ago. Back in October it came out. So there's a bunch of community questions out there in terms of support on Windows 8, and we don't have it officially supported yet, but we're working on bringing it up to speed in terms of our normal scanning and having the agent running on it.
Okay. Great. Well, let's see. X Lazaro is asking, will it be possible in the near future to have help desk subcategories implemented in Spiceworks?
Everybody wants that one. What do you think, Amin?
Near future depends how near future is, I guess. I'm not sure if anyone is actively working on this at the moment, but it's definitely something that a lot of people want, so I don't see it not being in a future release.
Is it in feature requests already?
I believe so.
People spicing it up.
There's some plugins out there for some of that stuff, so I don't know if it's more of incorporating it into the product in general and just getting it out of the plugin. So.
Yeah. So from the development side, do we ever take plugins or things that are in the extension center and then eventually roll them into the product?
I'm not sure actually.
So it is something that I know Babbitt's been talking about a little bit more. You know, we have some of these plugins that have just grown, some of them organically, and if there's a lot of users on them, then we may start picking them up and just incorporating them in the app. So that's kind of his call. So he's not here, so I'm just going to answer for him.
But he'll be on the webinar tomorrow,
Yeah.
so we can shoot all these questions at him tomorrow too. Nice. Okay. H2O 4 shakes. Any plans for Easter eggs?
I love these names.
I know, they're fantastic. I'm probably butchering half of them, but.
Easter eggs, you got any?
I don't. Besides those beta testing Easter eggs.
Beta tester Easter eggs. We're gonna, and you're welcome.
Nice.
I don't know. Some of the developers have a few of them that they like to stick in. I know Jeff Keen likes to put quite a few of them in there. I guess maybe we need feature requests out there for more Easter eggs, and we'll get them to start building them.
Yeah, there you go. We'll have a developer just do Easter eggs.
Yeah.
I like when we show them off in the Friday meetings. They're always very creative. That's the thing I'm always amazed about is the Easter eggs we put in are kind of crazy.
There's a bunch of them out there in the community too that are new Easter eggs. So see if you can find them, various pages.
Great. So Clane418 is asking, did I hear correct that in 6.2 there will be more options other than admin, help desk, admin, and reports? Not real sure what we're talking about from the option side of things.
I'm not really sure on that question either.
I'm not sure what they meant by the question.
Sorry, Celine.
I think if it was about just the functionality in reports, that was one of the things that I'm currently working on. And that's something that I'm hoping to, definitely not in 6.2, but hopefully in 6.3 or in a future release sometime in the near future. I'm currently working on it. I'm just hoping to get it done in time.
Nice.
I think Bernard might have something to add.
Perfect. Here on this?
Yep, I want to get in there on that one. So there's just the one extra role that's been added at this point in time, which is the help desk tech. So you do have the help desk admin, the admin reporting, and now help desk tech. So there aren't as many individual roles as people may want, but it has expanded by one at least.
I just butchered the question in punctuation, and so just ran all the words together of what different roles there are for different users. So sorry about that.
Thanks, Bernard.
Perfect. Now, when you guys are working on 6.2, is there any overlap in doing development for the next release?
So not directly, but then a lot of the times things that we're working on, they're kind of flexible in what release they go into. So a lot of times you might have something planned for 6.3, but if you get it done way ahead of schedule, then there's no real reason not to go ahead and throw it into 6.2. And it also happens the other way sometimes, less fortunately, where you have a really large project and the scope of the project expands over the course of a few months, and it can no longer fit into 6.2, so you got to push it back.
Yeah. Now, oh, sorry.
No, go ahead.
I was going to say, during the beta process, and we had the 6.2 group up, people are posting there. Are you guys pretty active in monitoring what people are posting and saying?
Yeah,
I've seen you're very active in that group.
I wasn't as active in 6.2 just due to all of the heavy workload I guess we had on the test side this time around. But I try and stay active in there. That way, I can help troubleshoot. I jump in and try and help out the support team because those guys are just phenomenal in answering questions and helping the users out. But I look at my role as to get the information and try and bring it back into reproduce the issue and get it over to devs so they can fix the bugs if there's any.
Great. Well, I think that's it. We really appreciate your time. Thanks for sitting in with us. And Bernard, thank you so much for helping us as well. And with that, I'm going to pass it back to Elise.
Great. Thanks, guys. Thanks, everyone, and thanks for getting your questions in. Those are great questions. I did want to remind you, if you heard your name read out by Caroline, send me your mailing address so I can get the sunglasses out to you. Otherwise, I won't know who to send them to. So you can PM me in the community. I'm Elise S, E-L-I-S-E, or you can email me, Elise at Spiceworks, and I'll get you on the list to get those out to you as soon as I can. So that's it for us. Thanks to everyone who tuned in today. Thanks to everyone who participated in 6.2. We look forward to seeing you next time. We will be back for the next product release, whenever that may be. Mystery, mystery. And don't forget, this is the most important thing I could say all day. If you want to get demos and training on 6.2 and really see it in action, there's a webinar happening tomorrow at 10 a.m. And we'll have several people who will be on hand to go through 6.2 in much greater detail, show you exactly how to get the most out of it that you possibly can. So to register for that webinar, it's a free webinar. All you need to do is go to the 6.2 group, and in the announcement section of the group, you'll see, I can't remember the name of the post, but it's something like free test, free training or something like that. So just click into that, and there's a link to register. So that's it. See you at the webinar tomorrow, and see you at the next round of Spiceworks Live for either 6.3 or 7.0, whichever the case may be. I don't know. Could be a mystery. But we'll see you there. That is not a mystery. So thanks for tuning in, and see you next time.